Remi Piet, he's a research associate on political economy and foreign policy at Florida International University. Well, this was a stinging, crushing defeat. Where does May go from here?
Well, it is a resounding defeat for May, and Corbyn just was very eager to make the point that it was probably, in terms of vote, one of the most important defeats from a prime minister since the 1920s. However, the reason for that is because you have a series of different opinions that were actually coalescing against Theresa May's proposition. You have people that want to be staying inside the European Union. You have people that actually want to have a real Brexit without being still part of the customs union. Others that would want to have a different kind of agreement. The scenario afterwards is that where do you go from here, in the sense that people unite to oppose Theresa May, but they don't agree on additional scenarios. And Theresa May was very clear about pointing the fact that this vote was not supporting any alternative opportunity for the Great Britain. The options here are either trying to renegotiate something with the European Union, and Brussels was very clear, also Macron and Merkel, that this will not happen, or maybe very, very tiny concession that will not change the outcome of the situation in domestic politics in the UK, or also try potentially to postpone the moment for the Brexit. What the opposition will want to have in the UK is actually a general election. And that's why they're not specifically interested in a new referendum, but rather having Theresa May step down in case she loses the vote of confidence tomorrow, which is unlikely. And if not, well, we're still going to be in a situation of a gridlock here in the UK without clear alternative scenarios, and just trying to continue this poker game between the opposition and Theresa May position, trying to push forward for some kind of a negotiation that she cannot get better today.
And Corbyn, you brought him up. He delivered a withering speech aimed at May, describing your negotiations as 2 years of failure. He demanded that vote of no confidence for what he saw as the sheer incompetence of the government. What's that going to be like? As you say, most everyone expects her to survive it, but it's going to be another difficult day, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, she's going to survive it probably because members from the DUP are going to be supporting her position. But a lot of different Tories that are actually voting against Theresa May's position are not scenario and negotiation treaty actually are not ready to push for early elections because they will lose their own seat, and they do not want to have the Labour actually in power in the UK. I mean, the scenario right now is trying to see if Theresa May can achieve to have some very limited improvement in a negotiation with the EU, but that again is unlikely. So we're going to see a series of weeks and months of up and ongoing negotiations, and trying potentially to have another alternative scenario. Theresa May has to be able to provide a new scenario by Monday, so that's just 3 days of negotiation behind closed door with the Tories that actually didn't back her position, trying to find some kind of agreement, or at least joint scenarios and negotiated scenarios for the British people. The key issue here is that people that voted in favor of Brexit did not see probably all those difficulties over the next the last 2 years, and Corbyn is in a very comfortable situation to actually show that it was a failure from Theresa May and calling for her to step down for general elections.
Well, and it's a good point. People voted for it. They love the concept, the idea, but now in reality, as you say, it's a minefield. Do you think that it's likely they may have another referendum? And if so, what might the vote look like today?
Well, probably if you look at the overall population, if you look at the polls, a series of a short majority actually would favor a new referendum, and the outcome might be very different from the first one. But again, here we're looking also at negotiation at the level of the parliament, and a lot of different members of parliament that voted in favor of Brexit will not favor, obviously, this new referendum, and they have no specific interest of trying to push for a new vote. They're people that are voted against Theresa May's proposal, that are for a hard Brexit, are actually more eager to prevent any kind of new referendum, to have the Brexit and the hard Brexit that they want to have implemented being accepted and enforced upon the EU. Now, the issue is that right now in that negotiation with the EU has the upper end. I mean, clearly there's been a negotiation between Theresa May and Brussels, and Theresa May was not able, despite a lot of effort, to get a better treaty for the UK. Right now we're seeing that in the future, in the case of the British population, this first vote for Brexit was clearly a misconception and misunderstanding of the whole negotiation and politics at play here in the UK.
And Remi, you brought up the fact that she's got 3 days to map out a way forward, Monday, this deadline. But as you also point out, the EU doesn't really seem to be wanting to give much wiggle room. And even if they did, it doesn't, as you pointed out, she's got a lot of different members of these MPs. One has one point of view. Some want Brexit, some want Remain, some want a hard Brexit. I mean, how do you thread that needle?
Well, in the case of the EU, I mean, Macron actually mentioned that he was potentially ready to make very small minor concession. Other members of European establishment, the Austrian Prime Minister, for example, said that there will not be any new negotiations. So the capacity for May to get a better deal for the UK is very limited. And anyway, as you're saying, I mean, even if there were to be some minor concession, that will not put at rest the opposition from people that are either extremely hard Brexiters or people that are in favor of the Remain, of staying inside the European Union. At the end of the road, the only potential scenario might be new general elections on which all the Tory members will oppose, so that's not going to happen in a very short run, but that might be a postponing of the Brexit date, which is now supposed to be in March, could be postponed until even after the European elections in May. In the case of European elections in May, then the mandate through the European elections of potentially positions that would be in favor or Remain might force the hand of Theresa May to go for a second referendum.
It'll be interesting to watch. Remi Piet, thanks so much for your analysis.
My pleasure.